When you think about being the leader you wish you had, what did you want that ideal leader to be? You wanted them to care about you. You wanted them to care about your professional evolution. You wanted them to care about your work. You probably wanted a leader that would have faith in you and your abilities. You wanted a leader that was going to support you and your team. The truth is, we all want a leader that is going to invest in us as individuals. Be the leader you wish you had. Hello and welcome to the Unapologetically Authentic Leadership Channel. I'm Brooke Bernard, your transformational leadership coach. I believe that leaders are made, not born. They're made through experience. They're made through training. They're made through mentoring. They're made through education. Anyone can become a great leader if they care enough to build the skills and acquire the attributes. And I think that all of us have had these ideas about what leaders are and should be, at least in the beginnings of our careers when we're a little more idealistic. And then we start to meet different leaders and we realize that these people are humans and that they are perhaps falling short of what we hoped and thought they should be. And over the course of my career, I obviously have had horrible bosses, which will link this video in a card above. But I've also had a couple that were inspiring and I think renewed my faith in what a leader could be and should be and can be. And I want to talk a little bit about that. So we can all become great leaders. And what are great leaders? We watch people in front of us, and I think that we have a chance to observe and make note of the things that feel really good to us, that we want to emulate. At the same time, we have the opportunity to learn from their mistakes and to think, if I was a leader, I wouldn't make that choice. Or I really don't like the way that they just spoke to that other person. Or I really wish they would plan ahead or be more organized or communicate more thoroughly. Or maybe just relate differently. So be the leader you wish you had means to me that you use those experiences, the good and the bad, to create this understanding of what kind of leader you want to be. Personally, I've always been drawn to leaders that were magnanimous, people that were humble and great at what they did, but weren't in it for the limelight, weren't in it for the congratulations and the name recognition. They were just extremely gifted, talented at motivating people, at leading with vision, at expressing hope in the face of stress and fear and frustration. Lead toward the light. That was a speech that Larry Rober gave at a student affairs conference years ago. And lead towards the light always stayed with me because I just thought, wow, in this day and age and with everything we have going on, we all need that message. So that automatically made me think he's a leader that I value. And then I think that there's the idea of how we connect with the individuals that we lead. And so I always wished I had a leader that cared enough to validate me when I was working through something difficult, right? I always wished I had someone that would check in on me and be like, this is really tough. How are you doing? Or I know that a lot happened in that meeting and it's possible you could be feeling really stressed right now. Let's talk about that. Or I know you have this upcoming project and the deadlines are tight and you might be feeling kind of anxious. Do you want to get lunch? or something big happened in your personal life and they're aware of it and just checking in to be like, how's that going? How are you feeling? Or I know you must be exhausted. Do you need some time? I think that would be brilliant. So that's the kind of leader I wish I had. I also wanted a leader that would support me and be my cheerleader. And as I was accomplishing these amazing things, which, you gotta own your stuff, right? It's not bragging if it's true. I had a coach that was one of the things she talked about, because humility runs deep in a lot of us, and we're really uncomfortable talking about the accomplishments that we have. And why is that? It's because society has like bred that into us, especially women, that you should not talk up your achievements because that makes you arrogant or unlikable or unrelatable or unapproachable or not accessible to others. And I think that the messaging around that to men is very, very different. So I would just say, friends, own your achievements and feel good about them. And like I said, my coach, Rosie McCarthy, she says that it's not bragging if it's true. So hold on to that idea. So back on topic. I have done some amazing things, and I wished that I would have had a supervisor that instead of just being like, okay, what's next? That they would have just paused for a moment and been like, that was so many hours of work and so much effort to coordinate. And you did an excellent job of marketing it. And I'm so impressed with your work. And let's celebrate this achievement. Let's pause and recognize and celebrate, and just celebrate with me just for a couple of minutes before we move on to the next big thing. And there have been so many times looking back at my career where my supervisors had ample opportunity to recognize processes I built, resources I created, events I held, money that I got through grants or partnering that helped our programs, our departments. There were so many times that they had the opportunity. And when I think about myself as a supervisor, and this fits in the be the supervisor you wish you had, I had to take those moments to celebrate myself. And then as a leader, to take the moment to celebrate with my team. When they would do something as individuals or as a unit, I tried really hard to take a moment to just recognize it, even if they were feeling the pressure and the rush to move on to the next thing, right? Like I wanted to be able to sit in that whenever I could, to just say, let's take a minute and just appreciate all of the effort and all the success that you just had around this big thing. It's something I value. You got to celebrate the wins. And sometimes that celebration should have monetary reward. And I just want to say that. So, in being the supervisor I wish I had, I would love to be able to give raises, to give bonuses whenever I could, to give promotions, to give title changes. I think it's really important to invest in your people, and I so would have appreciated that same investment, right? And I think that as leaders, we have a lot of pressure to be focused on a million different things, but the truth is we all want a leader that is going to invest in us as individuals, and we deserve that. And so in being the leader you wish you had, please take time. Take time to invest in the people that work for you. Take time to invest in yourself. If no one else is going to, you need to. And maybe that investment is professional development. And the easy free professional development that I can give you is the mini course that I always link in the description box below. It's all about elevating your leadership and getting in touch with your authentic self. So please utilize it and invest in yourself. And I think the next thing that I really wish that my leaders would have done is to really emphasize mental health. And I know that generationally speaking, that the younger generations, it's an expectation for them that leaders invest in their mental health and being supportive of their mental health. And I don't know so much in the millennial, like older millennial group or Gen X or baby boomers that we would even contemplate that as being something that's part of our work life. So, because it's not built in, I think we need to build it in. And if you've been fortunate enough to have a leader that does take time um, to invest in the psychological safety of your workspace and check in on the individual well being of their team members, I envy you. Like, I think that is fantastic. I have made a practice of, through different means, checking in and supporting mental health, especially in environments that I knew were really tough for my staff. And I knew they were tough for my staff. I knew they were tough for me. So I would carve out time. And I've talked about this before, but I always started my meeting with celebrations and affirmations. I did that for years. In one of my teams, we would do meditation every other meeting, and that was actually started by one of my staff members for the rest of the department, which I thought was beautiful. And throughout the different evolutions of my career, I have tried to instill this understanding that as much as I want my staff members to take care of their physical well being, like don't come to work when you're sick, right? I also want people to understand that if they're going through some kind of personal crisis, they can talk with me and we can figure out where we can relieve pressure. What deadlines can be massaged, can be moved? What projects can be tabled? Where can we create mental space for them during the day so they can really focus in on the things that are the most important? And not everything is the same level of importance, right? And I wish I had a leader that would have seen the value in those kind of conversations, because that would have made all the difference in how I felt about coming to work, how I felt about approaching tasks, even maybe staved off some of the burnout that I was feeling. I think that just a little bit of care and genuine checking in makes all the difference. And we know that so many people struggle with anxiety these days, and we know that people are seeking mental health leaves in record numbers, and most of those people are women. And I think that we need to take care of ourselves and we need to take care of those around us. And some of you might be thinking that leadership isn't that, but trust me, it is. Because the more you invest in your team, the more they're going to want to invest in what you're doing together. And the more they're going to respect you and they're going to enjoy working for you. And think about this: when you think about being the leader you always wished you had, what did you want that ideal leader to be, right? You wanted them to care about you. You wanted them to care about your professional evolution. You wanted them to care about your work. And you wanted them to invest in your team dynamic, the health of it, the enthusiasm of it. You probably wanted a leader that would have faith in you and your abilities. You probably wanted a leader that was going to support you and your team, especially when you were receiving requests to do things that you didn't have time for, or that were outside the scope of your job, or that weren't a priority when you had other big priorities that were aligned with the goals you had that you were trying to work towards. Having a leader that has good boundaries, that's something that I think we all wish was part of the leader we wish we had, right? And I'm talking personal and professional boundaries. And it's okay to be open and to share things. I think it's great when we can share things and be genuine with our teams. I also think that we need to know time and place and the degree to which it's appropriate to share. And that's hard because some people, just as human beings, don't have good boundaries. And so they might overshare. But I think as a leader, we need to make a conscious effort. And we all wish our leaders would make a conscious effort to get to know us and be a human, but also remember that they're a leader and they're not our friend. We can be friendly, we can be close, we can have a very close professional working relationship, and we can have that kind of appreciation for each other as people. But I think we all know that we want a leader that understands what it means to be a leader and has good boundaries. Like, I don't want to hear about my leader's marital problems, and I don't want to hear about my leader's health issues or the health issues of their family to the degree that I know they'd be embarrassed to know that I shared it anywhere else, or embarrassed to know, like in front of their partner, that I know things about them that they wouldn't assume I would know. I think we all just need healthy boundaries. So that's something that I think we wish our ideal leader had. So try your best to also keep those boundaries for yourself. In my work life, I had a parade of horrible bosses, and so much so that I did a video about that, and I'll link that in a card above. But I had one that stood apart from everybody else as being the type of leader I wish I had. One in 18 years. One. And here's why she was special. She hired me with the understanding that I was the expert in my area. And she didn't hire me with the intention of micromanaging me, because she understood that I knew more than she knew about that area, and she respected that, and she saw that as an asset instead of feeling threatened. And right from the beginning, she made that clear, that she valued my expertise, and that's why I was there. That was amazing and felt so good. Second, she gave us all, every leader in her division, she gave us all 2 books on leadership. And those books served as a very thorough introduction to how she understood leadership, what her philosophy was, and provided very practical examples of how to implement that with the teams that we led. And I thought that was incredible, because what better way is there to help a whole division of leaders understand what your vision and practice is when it comes to how you want to lead and how you want your leaders to lead. And then the third piece, I was only in my role a couple of weeks when my grandmother had an accident and passed away. And it was so sad and so devastating. And so here I am standing at her funeral. I'm in the receiving line. People are coming up to shake my hand and say that they're sorry for my loss. And I was kind of in this fog. You know, how when you're grieving, things just aren't quite registering as quickly as they normally do. And all of a sudden, I realized that she was standing in front of me. Not just her, she brought her husband too. And the funeral was 2 hours away from where we lived and worked. So she, without telling me she was coming, made the trip, and she shook my mom's hand, and it was my mom's mom who had passed. She shook my dad's hand, she shook my hand, she shook my brother's hand, her husband did the same. They stood there and they talked with us, and I felt so seen and so valued and just so respected as a human being. It blew my mind. It was surreal. I'd never experienced anything like that, but she did believe she was leading whole people with lives, and she wanted to show up for me, even though I was new to her team. That left an impression. And the last thing. So unfortunately, her time with me was cut short. She ended up leaving our organization, and when she was leaving, she hugged me and she said to me, "Never let them make you forget how great you are." I will remember those words for the rest of my life. What a gift. Because when things got hard, I remembered her saying that to me and I held it close. I wore it like armor, and lots of hard things happened in that particular job. My department got reorganized twice within 2 years. One of my most beloved staff members passed away, and half my team and myself got cut in the middle of the year because of huge financial distress that was happening within the organization. So I had a lot of big things that happened where I needed those words. And she wasn't physically with me anymore, but I had that to hang on to. So she is the type of leader that I wish I always would have had. And she was someone I got to learn what to do from. And that is so motivating and so inspiring. And I hope that in striving to be the leader that I wish I had, that I was able to give those same things to the people that I led over the years. That was always my goal. And so I hope I succeeded. I really valued the human beings that worked for me. And when I say human beings, I really mean it. They weren't just my employees. They weren't just my staff, even though I use the word staff members a lot on this channel, but I think that that's appropriate given the context of what we're talking about most of the time here. But they're human beings that I made connections with, and there are so many of them that I am still connected to, and I value those relationships and those connections. And even if years pass in between, they're still some of the most special people I've ever met. And we shared so much time together. Think about how much time we spent with the people at work. And don't we all wish we had leaders that actually valued that time with us, that built those relationships with us, and that learned who we were and what we cared about and wanted good things for us. So that's how I'm going to wrap up this video. Do some reflection and try your best to be the leader you wish you had. Because the truth is that in being that leader for yourself and for other people, you will make up the difference for you not actually having that leader, whether it's just right now or in your career period. Create that experience, create that space, create those relationships that comes from being the leader that you wish you had. Thank you for spending this time with me today. And thank you for your support. You all are fantastic, and I couldn't do it without you. And please share the video. Share it with other women who you think would benefit from it. And if you know men who are allies and would benefit from these messages too, please share it with them as well. I focus on women, but I am not exclusive. I do believe that these messages are universally good. And for the men who have replied to my channel, I do value you and I do appreciate your input, and women need as many allies as we can get. So yeah, men, women, trans, non-binary, all allies are welcome here. I appreciate you all. And if you ever are interested in personalized guidance and support, please reach out to me, because I would love to help you become the very best version of yourself and the authentic leader that you were meant to be. And until next time, stay true to yourself, lead with purpose, and thank you for watching.